Yay, hello, and welcome to this week of Magnet Marketers, where our goal is always to help you become a magnet with your marketing versus being a bullhorn. Today, we are diving into the world of Clubhouse. If you've not heard about the club, we're going to break down the what is it, the what our experience has been, how you can get involved, and the why you may want to, especially for your brand. But before we dive into all the nitty gritty, just want to say hello to all of you that are joining in with us live and watching the replay. Please let us know if you are in on Clubhouse right now and what your thoughts have been, or just where you're listening in today. And we have a special guest with us today. Tony does Clubhouse. Tony Christensen of Now Marketing Group. We'll do a quick intro of him here in a moment. But if we've not met before, my name is Jessika Phillips with Now Marketing Group and the Relationship Marketing System. My personal mission is to help people love more, give more, and be more through the art of authentic relating. And my awesome co-host, he's Mike Gingerich. He is the president of a digital marketing agency called Digital Hill. He's also a marathon runner, triathlete. He is a best-selling author. I buy all of his books, and he is a father and just an all-around great guy. So, Mike, glad to have you as my co-host. Moving into 2021, and this is our, 6th year together co-hosting?
Amazing, isn't it? Thank you for putting up with me for all those years.
Oh, yeah. Wow. You're so hard to put up with.
That's great. That's like into the 6th year, and we've shifted platforms as things have come and gone, and now we get to talk about another one. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
Absolutely. With Tony, good to have you with me, my friend. Here we work at the same agency, Now Marketing Group, but we don't always get to hang out like this. I think I've seen you even more, or heard you rather more recently in Clubhouse, as you are definitely a Clubhouse avid user. I think both of us have been inviting each other back and forth to rooms. But for anyone that does not know Tony is an ad strategist and just a genius when it comes to all things advertising. And just he's also a musician, for any of those of you that did not know. He's also makes some amazing sounds. So Tony, welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I've been on Clubhouse for a little while now. So yeah, it's been awesome to dive into more. And yeah, I just feel like it's just kind of skyrocketed into the scene. I've actually heard about it for months now from a few people I followed on Twitter that were like investors that were on it really early. And I know investors and some musicians were on pretty early. And now like you're just seeing like it just explode now, and so many more people are on now. It's kind of I'm starting to call it the CrossFit of social media now at this point. Like if you're on it, you got to tell people. That's kind of what it's becoming now, I feel like.
If you didn't screenshot it, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
You may have been seeing the screenshots of everybody that's hanging out in Clubhouse. And I have to tell you, the first time I used it, very similar to you, Tony, I was on it, and Mike actually sent me an intro, and I think I then sent it to you, Tony. So we're sharing the love here. I love this trifecta of sharing is caring right now. But that's how you get into Clubhouse. So first, I want to back up and say what Clubhouse is, and then what we've started seeing on it. But Clubhouse, I mentioned as soon as I got in that this was the very first social app that I've been excited about in a while. Talking about, Mike, how long we've been doing shows. The last one was really blab for me. And for any of those of you that have been around in the social media space kind of long enough and we're into video and having conversations like this was before live video. Blab was that platform where you could join in and join different rooms and communities and have conversations with people and be brought in kind of to that video chat to have that conversation. And I loved it. I've met so many people there. And Clubhouse is just like that, in my opinion, except for no video. So even more perfect, because I don't have to, I don't have to be dressed up. I don't have to have lights on here. You know, I can be participating while I'm folding laundry, which I have. But that's been the exciting part for me with Clubhouse. So by definition, though, what Clubhouse is, this is per Vogue as their write-up on it, is Clubhouse is an exclusive invite-only audio app where participants can move around to virtual rooms discussing arts and culture, from popular TV shows to the state of the music industry. Now, this was in December that was written, and that's kind of how it started out, but it's really evolved since then, because now, yes, that's there, but there's a little bit of everything. Have you found that to be true as well, Mike?
Yeah, no, I think that, and they've rolled out tools quickly as it's grown. So it's on a steep growth curve, steep evolution curve as well. Just some of the features to be able to kind of search, find different types of rooms, so that as you set up a Clubhouse room, that you can kind of say it's going to be about this, and then people would be able to actually find that those type of things. So definitely, and that was kind of one of the tricky things with Blab that they never really kind of evolved to. Was, you kind of had to know where some things were happening there, and so they're already kind of seeing that need and making some shifts. I know there's Android users out there who are still upset about this, that they can't be on it yet. I have heard some get around it by using their child's iPad when they use an Android phone. But yeah, that's where it's at now. And again, I mean, Tony, you said it's been out there a while. Is that I mean, it's been in beta, that type of thing. I just heard about it in December for the first time, and finally later December is when I kind of got an invite, and then so yeah, it's pretty.
And I think some of the people I knew that were on it, I think they were beta testers, because I heard more recently when it kind of exploded, they gave a lot of those first people like even more than 5 invites now, or they gave them like a second set of invites. So I think that helped to kind of propel things. But yeah, I went and looked, and I joined late November actually on Clubhouse, but I kind of dabbled my toes in it, and I was like, I don't know, like the rooms I went in, I wasn't that, I don't know, I didn't really like them that much. But now that it's kind of exploded more, I found like just the right people to follow now. And now like the rooms that I go into are just like full of value. And I'm like, this is crazy.
And that's the key. So like, I want to talk about that so everybody can understand that if you're not in there, like what the layout is and what the value is and why we're excited about it. And it's not just that it's Clubhouse. This is just the first tool that's been able to do this. And while I do think there's going to be others, and there's already Twitter talking about doing a spinoff, there's just the power of audio. Podcasting has been exploding and growing as well. But this is almost like a live podcasting room that you're invited to. And it's very simplistic in its nature, where you literally, there's no commenting section. There's no messaging in there. It's literally you set up your profile. You have your profile, and then you can link in Instagram or Twitter on your profile for people to connect with you if they find value in what you're saying or want to, connect with you in other places to DM you, which happens a lot. But then you can find other people with interests. You can find other people by finding interesting clubs that people have created. And how that works is, as Mike mentioned and Tony mentioned, you only get a certain set of invites when you get accepted or nominated, is what they call it, into the club. So getting nominated into the club means that any user will be able to send out an invite to, I think they give you 3 or 5 at the very beginning, in order to send out to people that you want to invite to join Clubhouse. And this you want to do very strategically, because I didn't realize that it was limited at first. So I'm like just going down my list. Of course, Tony, I would have invited you anyway, but I was going down my list of contacts, and then I was like, you're out of invites. So I was like, oh crap. But the reason why you want to be selective with this at first, or really think about who would add value here, is because your name's going to be attached to their profile for all eternity. So it'll always say at the bottom of your profile that you create who has nominated you into Clubhouse. Though once you start building up your connection, so inviting people in, created your profile. Now you're going to search for interest and can find other people to follow. There's clubs that others can create. It has to be turned into support at Clubhouse, and they have to get it approved. So you have to say for what purpose you're creating this group, who it's made for, kind of, and then you can have that approved, and that approval to then create this organization or club, if you will, to invite others to be part of. So then when people are creating a show, then others can join into it. So I found that's been an amazing way to create and find connections, is by finding and listening to people I enjoy, seeing what's on their profile, who they're connected to, and what clubs that they're involved with. And then it's like, like-minded individuals together. And the more that you get going on this, they give you more invites. So I think I've had other they've re-upped me, if you will. I don't know what they call it. Re-upped me 3 times now so far. But I don't think I can get that last one. You have to have all of them accepted, I think, before they'll re-up you. So Amanda Robinson, if you're listening, please accept your invite. No, I'm just kidding. It went to the
Actually, she was on last night. We were talking in a room, so
yeah, she's on
now. Accepted it by now.
And Amanda, but I had sent it to Amanda's old phone number. That was the one that went in the address book, because I don't text anyone anymore. I use audio messenger to talk to everyone. But yeah, that's how you get going on it, right? And how you start building connections. And Tony, you just mentioned you were in a room with Amanda last night. Like, what has been your experience, and what kind of rooms have you been listening into?
Yeah, I've listened to quite a bit of different ones. I listened to one I really liked that was just a bunch of really high achieving entrepreneurs talking about kind of their morning routines, which was really cool. So they just kind of had a panel. I wasn't a speaker or anything. I was just listening, and they were just going through, and they would talk about, here's my company, here's what I do for my morning routine. And I just thought that was really cool. Like a lot of books out there that are all about morning routines, but everyone was sharing theirs and then talking about how they're similar to other people's and things. And I thought that was really cool. One of the use cases that I used recently that I was like, this is really powerful, and I think a lot of people haven't used it like this yet, and I'm kind of looking forward to it a lot more. It was with the iOS 14 changes. I'm an advertiser, big changes coming to advertising from Apple's latest update that's going to be happening. So there's a lot of data and information that's out there, but there's not enough yet. So what we did was we basically created a room with a bunch of really big media buyers that were spending, 10 million plus a month for some of them. And they're buying on Google, on Instagram, Snapchat, everything. So we basically had like a town hall. We brought together all of the people that had their own, one guy was a Snapchat advertiser, one guy was Google, one guy was Facebook. Well, there was a bunch of Facebook, but and it was really cool because we used it basically as let's all pull together all the knowledge that we know and share what we know and figure out how we think it's going to affect. And then we can be like, oh, Snapchat guy, what did you hear from Snapchat? What did your rep tell you? So it was like a really cool way to kind of pull together all of our talents, all of our connections for a kind of a live event that was going on to try to figure out what was going to happen. So I thought that was really cool and really powerful way of kind of using the platform.
And I think this is going to answer your question, Nicole. So hopefully you heard that, because here's the difference. So what Tony was just describing. One, okay, because you're right. There are so many other ways of communicating. There's Facebook groups, there's LinkedIn groups, there's stories. We have 10 million apps and a million ways of spending our time, right now. But here's the difference, and that I found, and why I love it, and why this is the first thing, like I said, that I've been excited about this type of platform. I don't care that it's Clubhouse or whatever. It just is right now. But it's the power of now, and that it can't be replicated. One, because when you go live, when Tony just went live in that room, chances are he may have known one of the people that were in there, right? And then invite another person that's an expert. So how it works is it's live only. So there's no replays, there's no comment section, there's no, we got to get everybody first in a group and then all of that. It's an instant, in the moment, live only experience that you have to be in, because that's it. That's only, once you play it, it's not recorded or anything unless you're, rigging it to do so. But in the app, it's just that. So people will come in as moderators. First, they'll start a room around a topic. In Tony's case, it was around something new that's pressing. And so they start the room. They will be communicating. Others will get a notification if they've subscribed to that interest, or if they're connected to the following people that have went live. And if they've just searched for, what's live right now. Once they do that, they can listen in as a listener, right? So there's kind of 3 levels: moderators, the people that start the room, then it's speakers. So they could see someone that's listening. That person that's listening could raise their hand and say, I want to add something or ask a question. And that's what I've seen a lot. So like, I'm sure you guys got that. People are like, what do you think about XYZ? So you could ask as a listener in, I could raise my hand. They could bring me up to then be called what's a speaker to communicate and ask those questions live, while still there are people in the listening section. This is all live. It's one time only experience that's not replayable, anything else like that. And I've found that the average time that I've seen with people on Facebook, so yeah, it could be a time suck, or excuse me, not on Facebook, but on Clubhouse, it could be a time suck, but it's around like 4 hours. Some of these streams have been going on for 24 hours, not to say that you stay on it, but what happens in that time period has made more impact. It's just like us having a conversation, literally, for that time period. And how much deeper is your relationship going to be with having one connected, deliberate, focused conversation all in the moment versus a comment here and then I'm going to jump over here. And, it's just all, I don't know, you're invested in it.
Yeah, I would add to that based on Nicole's question. I mean, she outlined a few of those things, but there are different tools for, different means of consuming information. So Deb or Nicole mentioned, like a Facebook group, so, well, you're not going to have a live conversation in the Facebook group. I mean, you get comments, you can comment back and forth and that type of thing. And it's there and it's back and forth. Where this is, I think, and Jim kind of mentions this, he calls it like a live radio show where you can jump in and ask a question. I've been trying to think about it a little bit as well, because to me, it's like, let's say it's like the lobby outside the auditorium. So the auditorium was kind of like my conference I went to, my topic, right? And then we left that and we're out in the lobby now, and 2 or 3 of us started talking, and we had some great conversation. And then a few more people jumped in, and pretty soon out in the lobby, we've kind of got this group going and talking. And then if we feel like it's good and we want to continue this, we say, hey, let's go out to dinner, meet us at, XYZ afterwards, 9 p.m. And we're gonna talk some more. We're gonna create a big table and we'll hang out, that type of thing. And so then, that group goes. And so there's kind of this group experience, but again, it's gone, after that. So it's in the moment and it's real, that way. So I think that's a little bit, hopefully that helps Nicole say it.
I love that you said it that way, because the radio show and all that, it talks about maybe the tech of it, but it doesn't feel produced. It's so authentic. And I think there's this power of us not feeling on stage,
not
right?
Produced, not on
stage.
stage.
We are still talking and it's our voice, but it's not like so produced. We're not worried about the comment section. We're not worried about the likes, and how many people are hearting this and all of that. We're not worried about, how many people are, listening in. I mean, granted, you can see when the rooms are bigger, you may want to join in. Like, why is everybody over in the lobby in this section, to Mike's point, and jump in? But I've had some of the very best conversations with just 4 people, right? Like Troy Sandage and Craig Carpenter were in this room with Tyler Anderson and we just seen each other's name and we're like, hey, we haven't connected since Social Media Week Lima. We're popping in and we're going to go in and have this conversation. Before I knew it, a couple of Troy's friends came in. We're like, hey, meeting them in the lobby, as you said. I like that analogy, Mike, where they're walking over to see what Troy's doing. And then Troy's introducing, his friends to us. And then a couple of my friends come in and we're introducing all each other. And we could tell, like, all of us were on the same vibe, right? And the conversation can change. So our topic started out with, I think it was even, I don't even remember what the initial thing was. I think it was like goals for 2021 or something like that, or what's your next big thing. And then it shifted from there to, we literally started working on Craig's business with him, all of us chipping in and helping him craft his business and shift it in that moment and in the support. of all of us kind of being in that energy. But there's been rooms around, like I've jumped in around meditation, around health. But I love that this community, I've been able to meet so many amazing individuals that I would not, I think, have otherwise met in this way that has built this much rapport on social that quickly, if that makes sense. So yes, you will follow some people on Twitter that your friends have followed, or, Facebook, you're not really maybe adding them quickly as a friend, but getting that deep, that fast with someone that you're being introduced to that you may not have been in your awareness, because we see the same people again and again. And the inclusivity has been huge. I've seen so many more just diversity on Clubhouse, and just being able to listen in and join in, and just the energy there is just different for me.
Yeah, and it's really a platform just focused on like providing value, which I think is so incredible too. And it's almost like shocking. Like you go into the rooms and you're like, that's such a great idea. Like I have just a notes tab in my phone that just all these things that people have mentioned and stuff. And I think it's like so different, because some of these other platforms, like you can kind of tell they're giving you value to then try to get you to buy something or something. And a lot of this, there's still some of that, but you just don't really see it as much. A lot of it's like, let's combine all the knowledge that we know to help out whoever's asking a question or whatever it might be. And there are like, there's very informal rooms, but I've also been to rooms that are very formal. So like some of the informal rooms I've seen have been like, late night hangouts on Fridays. And like, there's just like it's called that. And it's just like, come kick it or whatever it says, but then some of the formal ones I've seen are a lot more like some of the Shark Tank ones that have been happening on there, or more the entrepreneur ones I've been in, where some of those, they have like a very few amount of moderators. Like they might have 2 or 3 or something. And they basically are like, all right, raise your hand if you have a question. We'll bring you in. This is how you're going to introduce yourself. This is how you're going to phrase your question. And it's very direct and to the point. It's almost like getting to the heart of like learning how to talk to like a C-suite executive in some ways, or people like, and pitching, or it might just be ask a question to the expert that we have on here. Which is really
by the way, this notebook is already full from those kinds of rooms. Both kinds. One, I'm literally like full already with from just listening in, because somebody's asking a question. I'm like, oh my God, that's genius. And even the smaller let's kick it rooms, one, how important is that right now with just being in lockdown still, right? And people just needing to social distance. And I love your point, Jim, too. He said, I had a conversation with people I've been connected to on Twitter and never met in real life. It was great to hear their voice. Yes.
Yeah. And that was literally my experience with all of the advertisers that I talked to on Twitter. We have hashtags that we use. We talk, we help each other a ton. And now it's like, wow, we're actually here in another, like we've never gone to other mediums. We might text or DM, but now it's like, we're actually combining our talents in one room now, it's exciting. It's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. But hearing the voice, like before, I always said, anytime everybody asks me what's my favorite social platform, I've always said Messenger, always, because of that connection point. And I love audio messages, sometimes annoyingly so to some people, but I love it because you hear the tone, you can sense the person. But whether it's the small room, getting connected with a group of people, to meeting new groups of people, to then, going into those larger rooms where there's thousands of people listening in. And I was in the one with Shark Tank with you. So there was 2 Shark Tank investors, and there was then it was Lewis Howes, Ty Lopez, big names that you wouldn't otherwise be able to be in the lobby, as Mike called it, talking to. There was the global marketing director of LinkedIn in there sharing what's going on with LinkedIn. You can literally hear them answering questions. And to your point, Tony, too, about adding value. And while they are not LinkedIn, so what this matters for your brand, while they're not LinkedIn, the logo, they are LinkedIn, the individual, right? And they're showing up and adding value. So 1, as a brand, you can do just that. And 2, as an individual, that is trying to grow your brand, you're able to build relationships with some of these, these people, while listening to hear what's important to others that may be in the same space as you. So there's so many opportunities of just being human and building relationships, what we're all about, but then accelerating that relationship and social listening, just all of it wrapped into one.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting too, just how they have it formatted now too, where you can't even DM people right now. So you're seeing a lot of people now that say, DM me, and then you go to their profile, and basically what you have to do now is go to their Instagram or Twitter, or maybe they have a website URL there, but you can't click on the URL for a website, but you can do, different social platforms. So I think it'll be interesting to see if that evolves and if that ever changes going forward, or if they wanted it to kind of have this feel where it was just like, you're here to talk and not to get distracted with DMs, or, some people are saying like they wish they could share their screens and things like that too. It'll be interesting to see if they add that, or if they're more just like, well, it's just audio, go somewhere else to do it, like the other stuff. It'd be interesting.
I love what Jeff says here, Mike. And I know, you preach this too, but Jeff says, even if Clubhouse goes away or morphs into something else, there can still be ROI if used right. I built my business in networking on Google+, and we know what happened with that. Exactly. It's not about the tool. It's about your technique that you're going in on it with. So adding value, building relationships, that's it. You don't want to just base everything on the platform. The whole key is wherever you show up, that you show up, and you're going at it with the intent of adding value, building relationships, or maybe you're just one that listens and you still get a lot out of it, but your brand, it's not there to just, show up and let's do, come join my Clubhouse so you can hear my sales pitch because I need to meet quota this month. Not everyone's probably going to join in on that room, but maybe your team, I don't know. But, it's what you get out of it. And I've already built so many amazing, actually I had 3 messages on Instagram today that were audio messages back to me talking about our conversations in Clubhouse. And we've already started, maintaining that relationship. And it's so cool because of people can get a sense wherever you show up of your energy and what your intention is there.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the interesting things about the platform too, is it's so easy to leave a room. It's so easy to look at the other rooms happening. So if you're in a room and someone's just really trying to sell, like you're just going to leave, and you're going to see that by the numbers of the room, and it's going to get awkwardly silent, and there's going to be less and less people in there. So it's one of those things where it is really easy to go to another room. So I think that's why people do really keep building value, and they just have good conversations. Because like you guys have said, if you're outside the auditorium and the conversation starts going south or somewhere else, you're like, all right, I'm going over here to go to this other this other speaker outside talking here, or whatever it might be. Yeah.
Yeah. So, different uses for sure, different types of things that way. You've talked about some that are a little bit more, mastermind-esque, strategic-esque. Tony has mentioned the kind of just, people focused on ads, collaborating, being able to discuss in person. I think Deb Mitchell said she's got a group with, for community builders. And so again, they're same roles, different places. And so just kind of being able, so that's good. Those are kind of pieces there.
And a couple other ideas with it too. Oh, sorry, Mike. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I said just one of the other uses was purely just hanging out, and it was, so much fun, New Year's Day. Lisa, I see Lisa Monk's on here in Australia. It was like 4 a.m. in Australia, New Year's Day. It's still New Year's Eve for me, and I'm wishing them, an early Happy New Year's. It hasn't gotten to me yet, and so we just, but there, some more people outside the bubble there. Fiona was there, but then some of the people that knew them and some other people they were just meeting, they had talked with, and it was just fun time.
Yeah, and one use case, and Nicole, you tee this up perfectly. So would you ever consider moving this type of platform or show over to Clubhouse, or would you do them both? So perfect question, because here's one of the ideas of extra ways. So, you don't want to just add the same thing everywhere, right? But how could you use this in conjunction with? So I've been asking myself this question a lot this year before I do anything. And it's for what purpose? Like, what is my intention going in before I will just invest time? Because time ROI for me is like my main goal this year, of being very intentional of where I'm spending my time and knowing for what purpose I'm doing. So to answer your question, Nicole, a couple things that I've heard of people that they're not necessarily going to do a presentation. This is not a platform for you to go on to do just a presentation on a Clubhouse. It is a conversation. So instead, what I would do is if I see a value, which I could see a value of doing a presentation or live show on, Facebook like we do now, or, even if you're doing a live event, on another platform, and then say, hey, by the way, what were your takeaways? I want to, kind of have this meet out in the lobby after the show and hear your feedback, allow you to add in maybe something I missed or your takeaway or whatever, and then bring that community there. The whole goal would be for what purpose is to create more of this sense of belonging and adding value and building your community there. So I don't think I would take this and put it there, but I could see an expansion of allowing you guys, because it's one thing to hear your comments here, but it's a whole other thing, or see your comments, but it's a whole other thing to hear your feedback and to hear what your experience was like hanging out with Mike on New Year's and what you guys talked about, how you're using, Clubhouse to, I think April had mentioned, like mini masterminds that you could do in there. Abso-freaking-lutely, right? Like, and all these ideas, like, I know I was talking to Tony about it earlier on, like, what, this would be a cool place of kind of doing live interviews, right? Like, we're looking for a content writer, and we have, some interviews and stuff lined up. I was like, how cool would it be to be like, content's my jam or whatever, title it like that, and talk about the importance of good copy, get the most passionate people about it because they're going to be drawn to it. And then now you're getting a sense of who people are, right? So you can use it for pretty much anything, as long as the intention is good when you're going there, of not just presenting, but having a conversation, I feel.
Yeah, I've seen a few people use it sort of that same case where they're basically like, I'm looking to hire this, come to this room and let's talk. And it was kind of a, I don't know if you celebrity-ish person that's run a lot of Facebook ads. So he's got a big following. So there was quite a bit of people there, all just trying to get this job, which was interesting. Yeah. And then I could see it too being kind of a good, I think that, like what Lisa's saying there, as a breakout room or an after party. And even like, I'm seeing it as almost like it could be the post speaker talking in a show like this, the Q&A, so let's all go here and ask your questions. And because now we'll follow up conversation.
Exactly. I mean, I'm looking right now, like, Stephanie Lou's in the comments here, and she's in, but let's say that she just got off stage. She just spoke, right? And, and I'm waiting for her to leave the room, and there's a line of us, that want to ask her some questions. And so she steps out of her room after speaking, and, we can come in there and we can just, Stephanie, I got one more question, but there's a crowd. It's not just me and her, right? There's 15 people, whatever, 25 around us that are asking, that want a part of that conversation. They're listening to that. They're hoping to get their own question at some points in time. So it's so that's definitely a use case. Kind of, Jessika, you said like what we're doing here. It's like the three of us, we're watching the comments, which are wonderful today. I mean, people are interested in this, but we can't invite Deb in to say, Deb, share that, or
How did you do that?
Jeff, say this. You're putting them up on screen, so that's the different dynamic that you could do afterwards, like that, or in a place like that.
And one other thing that I've seen that's been genius, and Lisa, I want to hit your point on my Instagram followers and engaged, especially in the DM, has grown since the beginning of Clubhouse. For real, like, not that that's the intention, but it has exploded since then. In the conversation, I got 2 leads within my first week. Not that I was intending to do that, but I closed a coaching client and working on this on the second, and I wasn't leading in with that. It was just because I went from a listener to a speaker to then running the room at the end of the night that had been started by, a bigger name, which was awesome. And just the connections with people there. But one cool thing, so that's one way. We've talked about many ways you can use this as a brand, right? Like, because the brand is the people that work there. They're representing the brand. But even for others, I've seen that's been done brilliantly. Judy Fox, Jamie Cohen, and Brian Wallace, I've seen them continuously show up and talk LinkedIn, and they're going all in on what their zone of genius is. And they've added so much extreme value in that room. not only giving the knowledge bombs, they've got feedback from people that they're like, tell us what you want us to talk about, raise your hand, kind of come up to the stage and tell us. And then they were doing live LinkedIn profile audits, giving people the tips and advice that you would be otherwise paying them good money for, because they're good at what they do. And I'm over here still taking notes, right? Like, oh, I need to fix that. I thought I knew that, whatever. And it was so freaking valuable. Same thing with like what we were talking about in the room last night with, was it last night or the night before, with the sharks and, some other really big power hitters that were investors. They were dropping exactly what they were looking for before they invested, in the best pitches and how they built their network, how they landed those deals. They were sharing their billionaire secrets right there. So, look at what you could do to add so much value, something that you would maybe even sell. But if you show up there and offer it as value, people don't buy, the thing that you're doing. They're buying the sense of belonging, one, and two, the how you do it, how you're showing up. So even though, they're giving out, and I was giving out all these tips and pretty much everything, online, and same with Jamie and Brian and Judy, people were still like, I'm going to hire you because I need you to do it. I want only your hands up because you know what you're talking about, right? So it's not that they can't YouTube it or whatever else, but it's getting the sense of understanding who that person is. They're showing up with value, and it's been huge for everyone that I've talked to. But the key is you're going to get back what you're putting out. So it's definitely not one of those platforms that you can set up, automate, have someone else do for you.
Right.
All that. You can't rig it, and that's what I love about it.
Maybe that's why they'll never have DMs on the platform. We'll see.
We'll add anything to it. It's perfect. Just the way it is. Yeah. Except for Android. I'd love to have Android friends in there.
Yeah. There's been some rooms I've been in too that were more of, we'll give you advice on your business, which are really cool. Mm-hmm. And they've had a lot of people from kind of different industries that have been the moderators and the speakers. And it's cool because I've seen them, they'll say, raise your hand if you have a question. They'll bring in one person at a time, and the person will ask a question. And then basically, if there's a really good host, because I've seen some really good hosts, I've also seen some hosts that probably need a little bit more work too. But the really good ones, they'll basically be like, all right, what's the question? They'll really get kind of to what the ground zero of the question is, I would say. And then they might panel or ask whoever's there, like, who's got the best experience on this? Or like, I've had one person that was saying, I think it was a guy with a clothing business, and he's like, I'm looking for someone to help me with, I think he did actually end up saying ads, but it was like, there's been other examples where it's like, I'm looking for a mentor for someone to help me with a clothing brand. And then they'll be like, who here has experience? And then they'll just connect. And then it's just been that quick connection. All right, let's DM offline. And then they'll, send that person away, and then they'll talk on amongst their own. They'll bring someone else for a question. So it's really powerful too, for networking too. Or just if you have a sort of hurdle, there's rooms that are just literally looking for someone to help, and you can just go and show up and be like, this is the thing I'm working on. But I think one of the things that I've really noticed is your questions. You're going to have to learn how to ask questions better, because I've seen some of these rooms where some of the people they're like I said, they're almost like the C-suite level entrepreneurs. And some people ask questions and they're like, well, what are you really asking here? Because this doesn't make any sense. And they almost grilled the people back. But I think it's gonna help people to learn to figure out what they're actually asking, and if it's something that's holding, internally that's holding them back, or if it's something like, oh, I do have a problem with this. How can this exact person help me? So I think that's kind of an interesting.
And that's kind of what Megan was leading on to. She was saying, my rooms have been hit or miss more often than not. I'm getting there too late to get on stage. I need to be more intentional about scheduling what I attend. Or Megan, even while listening to somebody that's maybe given advice that's been on the speaker level or not a moderator or been on stage, or even if you see somebody in the room that you can start a smaller room from a room, if that makes sense. So, because Deb just said, Megan, look for smaller rooms. You can leave or take people from that room and invite them to start a separate room with you as like a spinoff. So you don't have to, one, you don't have to stay in there, and two, because some rooms are so large, it's what you're looking for. When I'm working, or in the evenings, while I'm folding laundry and stuff, I'll go purposely to those larger rooms to listen and get that wealth of information. And then when I'm looking to network and hang out with people, and party with the Aussies as Mike does, I will, be intentional about going where I go to for that community. So hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point because like last night I was in that room with Amanda and it was I think 10 people, right? So there was a few speakers, but most of the people there, they just ended up being speakers because it was just such a small room. So there's rooms like that where you can really network and talk to everyone and kind of value each other equally. And then there's other ones where it's tons of people and it's more of a panel or people giving advice or trying to find investments. So there's a lot of use cases depending on.
And that's going to continue to shift just because it's so early and evolving. So that's kind of why you can't just kind of go in once or twice and say I'm done or whatever, because it's evolving and there's different pieces there to experiment with.
Yeah, I love what Jen, you said. I saw a room pop up today that was titled 20-minute Q&A. And I was like, how are you going to keep it that short? So that is one tip, though, for brands as we wrap up here. And we'll be doing a recap blog on this, by the way, as we do every week on Magnet Marketers. That'll be on nowmarketinggroup.com. You click on the blog section and we'll have that up tomorrow. But one thing to know on Clubhouse is that if you are intentional about your time or you have a hard cutoff, there's a couple ways of going about it. One, label it like this person did that was genius, because it will go on and on and on forever. Like I said, average time that I've talked to people, it's been about 4 hours that they've been on it consecutively sometimes. And I've found it on the evenings where my kids are doing something else or elsewhere that I've got a lot from that when I'm intentional with it. But the other times, you either have to make it short, or if you're hosting a room, set up another moderator and ask what their time commitment is, or just be upfront and let people know, hey, we're not bringing anyone else up to the stage because we're going to be wrapping it up XYZ. So just because you started a room doesn't mean you have to be there in the lobby. As Mike, I'm just going to use this now, Mike, but like when you're in the lobby and you're having a conversation, as long as you've introduced everyone and you kind of pass the torch, so to speak, to someone else to kind of keep that conversation going, you can leave and go back to your room, right? And get some rest and let that party in the lobby continue on.
You made some introductions and they're carrying on the conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's many ways of doing it. The key is just how you're showing up as a brand. Don't look at it as I'm just going to go there and pitch or, asked to be on stage because I just want to be heard, even though I don't have a question, to Tony's point, because you will get called out or you won't have people that are connecting with you. And the whole thing is the great thing about being audio is that you're not on video. The bad thing about audio is that people aren't on video. So if they're eye rolling you and like, what the did he just say, or she say, you're not going to know, but you will know because you're not building those relationships outside of it, right? And that's the key of taking people that you've had these communications with and getting those messages in the DM on Instagram, as was pointed out and by Lisa, or they're coming to your website and filling out that contact form because now they want to hire you, or however you're choosing to move that relationship forward. But you have to show up and be willing to put in the work, because there's no way of gamifying it yet. And I pray it stays that way, because as we've talked about dark social, this is where things are heading. All of the things, smaller, more niche, intimate experiences being the word there, which is key for people to connect with people, and then they will connect with the brand. But it starts there. So just choose where you want to show up, how you want to show up, and answering questions where you do know the answer, and being okay saying no if you don't, or pooling the community key when thinking about how to use this for your brand. Anything else that you guys would add as we wrap it up?
We didn't talk much about it, and I haven't really used it much either, but I know too, you can even make private rooms. So I could see that being a big thing in the future, of more of like smaller communities meeting in more of a private setting as well. So that's something I would probably look into going forward. But yeah, just get value in it. And like we've kind of all touched on, when I first went on, I was kind of like so until I found the right rooms. And it's really just keep going on until you start finding the right rooms. And then once you do, follow all those moderators or speakers that you like, because then like you'll just keep finding the rooms after that you really enjoy. So that's my big tip to end it, I guess.
I love that.
Yep. No, and I think Lisa's other point there, Jessika, is key as well. That be mindful. If you are doing that handoff, it's because if you scheduled it, you're still associated with that. So yeah, it's just important to know who you're handing off to and all those kind of pieces there.
Yeah. It's like making someone an admin of your channel. And giving them free reign. So make sure when you leave your house, you know what's going to be happening there. And I don't know about Pixel users and when that's going to be available to them. I have no idea. I'm just talking about how much I love the app, but I'm hoping that, it will be soon. That it will be available to others soon. But even if it's not on Clubhouse, right? Like, if you're not there, you can take some of these tips and apply it anywhere. But I did want to share about the app and the power of the app, because I know there's been mixed reviews, and really some people are like, I didn't hear anything of value. You're going to get out what you put in. Again, find the right people, find the right conversations, and then participate or listen, and get some value there. But I hope all of you have enjoyed learning a little bit more about Clubhouse. I hope to see you there. If you are on Clubhouse, connect with us here. We would love to see what conversations you're participating in, as well as joining in with some conversations with you. And we'll be recapping this in a blog again at nowmarketinggroup.com on the blog section there. Tomorrow we'll be releasing that so you can get a recap. But yeah, if you are thinking about joining, and do join, again, put your handle in the comments here. I will make sure at least to connect with you. I'm sure the other guys will as well. And would love to have a conversation there. Until then, we'll be back here next Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern for Magnet Marketers. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you, Mike and Tony. And thank all of you for showing up and having such a great conversation in the comments. Can't wait to catch you over there here shortly. All right. Bye, guys.